Happy New Year's and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Sergeant at Arms, has the front lobby been attended to? Thank you, Chief. We request that all electronic devices be turned off or put in silent mode. Also, please refrain from using flash photography except during the special presentations portion of the meeting. Board Member Juvenelli will be participating by Zoom tonight. Do we have her up at the moment? If not, we'll come back. Pursuant to Board Policy 0164.1, she is eligible to vote on items during tonight's action meeting. I am pleased to welcome you to the January 9th School Board meeting. The time is 6:02 and this meeting is called to order. We'd like to take the opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student achieves his or her highest potential and the district visions to be a world-class school system. So at this moment, I will go through the agenda, which includes invocation, pledge of allegiance, acknowledgements, public comment, 4 items under executive services, 3 items under board office, 1 item under academic services, 5 items under business services, 1 item under human resources, 2 items under information systems, 13 items under operations, 1 item under public hearings, and 4 items under good of the order. Please note that recognitions that were originally scheduled for tonight have been rescheduled, so we'll handle those next time. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda as modified?
I move to adopt the agenda as modified.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, moved by Ms. Jordan and seconded by Ms. Langford Fleming. Please record your vote.
I'm not in. And I don't know how to get in.
Do you want to do just a roll call? Can we just do a roll call vote? Okay. Are you on the line, Ms. Juvenelli? Okay. Please tell me your vote, Ms. Patrica. How do you vote?
Yeah, please.
Ms. Jordan?
Yes, please.
Mr. Persons?
Yay.
Ms. Langford Fleming?
Aye.
Ms. Morgan?
Aye.
Motion carries, and I'm an aye on that vote. Motion carries 6-0. So, as is the custom of the board, I will introduce my guest leading us in the invocation. The invocation is intended for the benefit of school board members as they proceed with their work this evening. It is not directed at the audience. Those who deliver the invocation may reference their religious faith, as you might refer to yours when offering a prayer. We wish to emphasize, however, that members of all religious faiths are welcome, not only in these meetings, but in our community as a whole. Staff and members of the audience are welcome to pray or not to pray. After the invocation, Ms. Debbie Jordan will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So at this moment, please stand. And I'm going to welcome you. I'd like to introduce you my guest, Pastor Mike Carter of Skyline Church, located at 1717 Skyline Boulevard in Cape Coral. Pastor Carter, please lead us in your word of prayer, sir.
Absolutely. Let's bow our heads.
going to ask everyone for forgiveness. My voice is not in top form tonight, so we're moving on to acknowledgements. Next on the agenda is the character word for January. So the character word for January is commitment. And the quote is, "Commitment is what transforms a promise into reality," by Abraham Lincoln. And this was made by Aiden York, an 11th grader student at North Fort Myers High School, created the design displayed on our screen. So great job, Mr. York. Now at this point, we're going to move on to public comment. So Mr. Bruno, could you please address the item of public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. Please complete a public comment card and put it in the basket provided. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff. The rules concerning public comment are posted in the back and will be made from the podium in the front center aisle. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. Concerns will be addressed by the superintendent or his staff as necessary, and the chair may comment as deemed appropriate at the conclusion of public comment. The superintendent or the board attorney may also comment if deemed appropriate. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on district issues such as duties, responsibilities, decisions, the general operation of the district. The school board is viewpoint neutral during public comment. We ask that decorum be kept and respect be shown, which is what is expected when a government agency conducts official business. Therefore, abusive language such as cursing, insult, derogatory language levied against an individual or a class of people are prohibited. Further personal attacks, such as name-calling, are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, booing, or a display of temper during public comment is prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order by the chair or the parliamentarian. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone, per Board Policy 0169.1, and may be removed from the chambers by the sergeant at arms. Per Board Policy 0169.1, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20, 2 minutes if there are 30 speakers, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screen in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name when you approach the microphone. I will call your names 5 speakers at a time. Please follow staff's direction when lining up. Mr. Chairman, there are 13 speakers that wish to address the board this evening. 3 minutes per speaker.
Thank you, Attorney Bruno. Please ensure you have completed a public comment card to provide public comment. The card is a public record identifying those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. The cards are located with staff in the hallway. Is there anyone else out in the audience who wishes to address the board that has not filled out a comment card? If so, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, at this moment, Attorney Bruno, please proceed with public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will the following individuals please line up? Tony Rucker, Dylan Murphy, Emerson Mills, Grant Fitcher, Matthew Weeks.
Hello. I wasn't going to talk tonight, but I listened to your briefing this afternoon, and I just had a few things I wanted to add. One, I wanted to thank you guys. It's Tammy Rucker. Sorry you couldn't read my writing. Sorry. One, I just want to thank you guys for the thorough and lengthy discussion and consideration for Bayshore K-8. I was very overwhelmed by the thoughtfulness that you guys put into it and all of the things that you discussed. One, I want to thank Mr. Persons for his wonderful idea. I think that the amount of money that will be saved in transportation alone could surely cover the portables for that last year if we did not get the building built in time. Two, there was somebody brought up a concern of equity and liability. In my experience in being a prior employee of the district, we opened up a lot of high schools. I don't know what you would call them. I don't know what the official name was, but on a soft open. So only ninth graders went. And everybody knew the anticipation would be that, you know, in 4 years or 3 years, they would have everything that a high school should have. And parents still were on board with that. But most importantly, if you remember what I said before and you read my letter that I wrote, my concern is for the family unit. My kids suffered because there was no schools in our, excuse me, in our community. And I now have 3 grandchildren who are going to be attending that school, possibly 6. And the stress on our family unit of having to pack a bag in the morning to be gone until bedtime so that we could make sure that our kids attended the after-school activities, that they were able to socialize with the friends that they were forced to meet 30 or 40 miles away from home, and that they also could participate in after-school activities, sports, whatever, was very stressful. We didn't have dinners around our table. We didn't get to have friends within the community. And I think there was a mention of what, you know, parents have asked for this last year and the year prior and the year prior, as if one more year doesn't matter. But one more year is a whole group of families who are going to be forced to live that displacement, who are going to be forced to have their friends, their kids make friends with people far, far away. And these families are going to spend more time on the road than I even had to spend because the traffic is ridiculous. So I hope that that is a main consideration for what you do. These kids deserve to be in their community. They deserved it last year, they deserved it 10 years ago, and they deserve it now. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Grant Fichter. I appreciate your time tonight. I'm here to talk about the Bayshore Elementary K-8 school expansion. It's great to see it on the capital plan, and that's very much appreciated by the community and the residents of the area. My family particularly is blessed and thankful to have the Bayshore experience with my oldest daughter moving up and out of Bayshore about 6 years ago. I'm very thankful that my youngest twins also attend Bayshore now. To say it's a special place would be an understatement. That's obviously a testament to the leadership at the school, on this board, and the always amazing faculty and support staff, and of course the parents who make up a solid community full of good, hardworking people. On behalf of my family and friends that couldn't be here tonight, on behalf of the students and faculty, and on behalf of the entire community, I would ask your consideration to move this project up on the capital plan to accommodate a quicker transition to the district's goals. The request would be to begin the transition plan using the existing buildings and infrastructure now, which can currently house the 6th and 7th grade classes, and then over the course of the next few years add the necessary infrastructure to finalize the end goal quicker. This would be a transition to a 6th grade program next year in 24-25, adding the 7th grade program to the following year as those students move up in 25-26. And ultimately meet the final goal of the K through 8 with the 26-27 school year. I know this is a large ask, but it totally makes sense, and it is completely possible if you decide to put this plan into action. As you know, the area has several new subdivisions, hundreds of new houses, hundreds of new students, and residents are moving in by the day. Many of these families have young children that are going to need a place to go to school. The scenario of moving this process up to next year is beneficial because of the fact that much of the actual physical space is available now, and it is very cost effective considering the soaring construction costs that we're dealing with throughout the district for new facilities. It's the quickest, most economical, most beneficial move we can make for the children of the area and the community at large. Thank you very much for your consideration and your time.
My name's Emerson Mills. I'm in 3rd grade at Bayshore Elementary. It is important to me that we get a middle school because there are not enough middle schools in the county for everybody in Bayshore Elementary. We really, really need a Bayshore middle school. I also love school and would really like to have a Bayshore middle. Also, I have a lot of friends in 5th grade and I do not want them to have to go all the way into Cape Coral for school. Please try your hardest to get us a Bayshore Middle School. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emerson. Will the following individuals please line up? Bristol Anderson, Jay Davis, Michael Borbina, Bryant Graves, Doug Ton, and Brinley.
Hi, my name is Dylan. I'm a 5th grader at Bayshore Elementary, and I was wondering if you would let Bayshore have a 6th grade. The reason why you should let Bayshore have a middle school is because all the 5th graders don't want to leave next year, and Bayshore is amazing. If you are not sure about it, then interview some teachers and students at Bayshore, or come and see Bayshore to decide if we deserve a middle school or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dylan.
Hi, my name is Matthew Weeks. I'm a current 5th grader in Bayshore Elementary. I would like Bayshore to have a middle school next year because at Bayshore we do a lot of fun activities, which has helped to build a school family. Also, my little sister is going to Bayshore next year, and I would like to be there to comfort her. I am aware that I won't be offered the same programs as other middle schools, and I'm okay with it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Matthew.
Hi, my name is Brian Graves and I'm a 5th grader at Bayshore Elementary. First, I would like to thank you for giving me a chance to speak tonight. I want to start by telling you that my family has been a part of the Bayshore Elementary since 2006. My younger sister and I are the 4th and 5th child in my family to attend Bayshore. It has always been like a second family to all of us. My mom has always volunteered in the classrooms and my siblings and I have made lifelong friendships. Bayshore is a very close-knit and safe learning environment for all students. So I'm asking tonight that we 5th graders be able to stay and continue our education for 3 more years. Bayshore has the extra space, and I know hiring teachers should not be an issue since it is such a great school to be a part of. We all know the North Fort Myers community needs more middle schools, and this is a perfect way to accommodate more students in 6th through 8th grade. So I'm asking that you can please put this plan into motion sooner rather than later. It might be a little difficult, but I believe that it can be done. Our school district suffered a major hurricane last school year, and most of us had it up and running within 2 to 3 weeks. We 5th graders would love to call Bayshore home for another 3 years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brian.
Hi, my name is Bristol Anderson, and I am a 5th grade student at Bayshore Elementary School. I want to start by thanking you all for the opportunity to speak and discuss Bayshore becoming a K-8 school. Based on the new proximity plans, the options I now have for middle school are North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts, Diplomat, and Calusa. I have been told that North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts is also a K-8 school with a large 5th grade class. That limits my chances of getting in. Unfortunately, Diplomat and Calusa are both at least a 30-minute drive in car and decent traffic. If I were to get on a bus to travel to either of those schools, it would be around over an hour at least. Bayshore is an amazing school. We are included for activities. We have family activities like the hoedown and family movie night. And the school staff knows who we are. My parents say it is important to be pushed outside of our comfort zone, and at Bayshore, our teachers are always trying to push us to become our best. I understand that if this is approved, that we will be limited on extracurricular activities, such as band or sports, but I think that it would be worth to say at Bayshore. That is why I think Bayshore would be a good K-8 school. Thank you.
Thank you, Bristol.
here on your own. I know. And it'd be hard to live up to all that. Respected board members, my name is Jay Divis. I'm the father of a second grade student that attends Bayshore. It took me 2 years to get her in there. And this is why. Every one of us here is family. It's the first school in the district that she's been welcomed to and truly can call her own. And I think you could see here tonight that once you're a part of this group, you stay a part of it, and everybody backs each other up. And there has not been one person, student, or teacher that I have talked to in the last year that has been against accelerating the process of K through 8. I know that the K through 8, if it goes through, it's not going to affect my daughter. She'll be lucky enough to attend it. But it's our feeling, my daughter being in second grade, that we want to see all of her friends go through it with her. Mr. Fisher, I watched the meeting beforehand. I know you brought up the growth potential of the area. I'm here to tell you I live in a community. It's slated for 1,300 homes. It's less than 5 minutes from Bayshore. There's only 300 built right now. There's foundations in the ground. There are trusses going up left and right, 10 houses being started a week. I think population growth in the area is going to be exponential, and it's probably not being planned for. I think there's like 3 new communities each with over 100 homes, and mine in particular over 1,000. So it's all something that's definitely going to come into play, especially in the K through 8 realm. Thank you for your time, and hope they live.
Thank you. Will the following individuals please line up? Robert Daniels, Taylor Locke, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Ms. Deborah Sharalampax.
Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brinley Tarn, and I am in 3rd grade. I am here tonight because I feel very passionate about Bayshore getting a middle school. I love, and I mean love, Bayshore. Each teacher I have had has been amazing. They are so understanding, patient, and the best teachers. And don't worry, I didn't forget our amazing principals, Mr. Osmond and Mr. Cook. Are very nice and encouraging. Another thing I think we all love is that our moms and dads are allowed to volunteer because Bayshore is one big family. Now, on to the topic we are all here for. I've been told we will probably get a middle school, but all of us here tonight would love to see the 5th graders we have now be able to stay next year. Like I said, Bayshore is a family, so we don't want to see any of our family have to leave next year. Please keep us all together. So all in all, we can agree Bayshore should get a middle school next year because we deserve it. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and I really hope you all consider having Bayshore Middle School by the next year. After all, we do have plenty of classrooms for them.
Thank you, Brinley.
I signed up to speak with Brinley as well. Good evening, Mr. Superintendent, board members. You just heard from my daughter. Some things that she didn't mention is while at Bayshore, she maintains A honor roll. She's been on the clogging team for 3 years now, and she also was awarded a Do the Right Thing award in 2020. So she's been in this room before. And thanks to the staff, faculty at Bayshore, they're always encouraging the students to do the right thing and do their very best. Let's see. There are several reasons why middle school at Bayshore makes sense. First, proximity has created a need for additional seats within the Bayshore area. Second, population growth. That's already been hit on. It's at an all-time high in our county. I work for a local engineering firm. It doesn't show any signs of slowing down anytime soon. And third, Bayshore has the room, period. So there's already that room there to expand. One of the more important reasons to my family is the family environment that you've also already heard about. There's a sense of community within the school. How many schools have a clogging team? How many schools have a group of parents that are willing to spend their weekends together working on a float for that clogging team? Bayshore does. Like they said, we're a big family there. So again, Bayshore makes sense, and we urge you to act now rather than delaying it any longer. Thank you.
My name is Michael Borbina. The first thing I want to say is I heard last time I was here, I think someone questioning about you guys getting paid. You have a super important job to do, and I don't see how it could be like a part-time hobby. You need to be paid, so I want to, whatever you get, you deserve. You deserve it, and you have to have it. I would never be able to do something like that if I wasn't going to get paid to do that type of job. And the next thing I was going to say is I teach high school Spanish here at Riverdale High School, and I love my job, my spot that I have. I got a good deal, but I was dying for her to go to Tice Elementary for that bilingual program, and I would have quit to go work there for her to be in it. So it was a real bummer when I heard that got wiped out. But since then, people have talked me into Bayshore is what I should have put her into. So that's where she's at for kindergarten now. This is Myrna. She's a kindergarten student, and she loves it there. She's having a lot of fun, and she would love to go all the way through 8th grade there. She would love to have it as a K through 8. And the last thing I'd like to say, last time I was here, I didn't come up and say anything, and I wasn't with the shirts. So I don't know how many people are from Bayshore here that aren't in shirts, but maybe we could have everybody that is here for Bayshore just stand up so we can see everyone that's here for Bayshore tonight together collectively. And there's a lot of us there. We'd really like that K through 8. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Taylor Locke. Thank you to the school board, Dr. Bernier, and staff for the opportunity to speak tonight and for all that you do for our children. As a parent of 2 Bayshore Elementary students, thank you so much for the rigorous discussion you gave the Bayshore community's concerns during your briefing today. It made for an interesting listen on my way home from work, although my 2-year-old kept yelling music, music while I was driving, so I don't think she found it as quite as interesting. And Mr. Persons, I'm sorry, not sorry for pleading our case every time I see you in the community or at a Bayshore event. As you can see and as you have heard, the Bayshore Elementary family is special. We're different. We aren't Lehigh, Cape Coral, Fort Myers. We aren't better than anyone else, but we are a special community. The proposed middle school proximity plan takes our students farther away from our community. During the briefing, distances from Bayshore to Okamic, Diplomat, and Colusa were brought up, and it was alluded to that the distances really weren't that much different. However, not all of Bayshore students live right around Bayshore. Many of us live east of Bayshore Elementary School and east of I-75. For my family, Bayshore is 6.1 miles away. Okamic is 7.8 to 8.2 miles, depending on which bridge the buses travel on. Diplomat is 13 miles away, and Colusa Middle is 15 miles away. Going over the river into Fort Myers or heading east into Lehigh were not ideal middle school options, but neither is heading west down Bayshore/Pine Island Road 2.5 miles times farther and likely double or triple in time. As an employee of Lee County Schools, I understand the value of community. I taught at one of our Title I elementary schools whose parental involvement thrived because so many of our students lived within P1 and P2. The majority of our parents were English language learners, but they showed up, and I know that proximity played a part in that. I currently serve the district at one of our amazing high schools, and I am proud of all that we do for our students. However, I know that proximity affects our students. Many of our students live as far south as Bonita Beach Road to as far north as the Dunbar community. Students living so far away from the school limits their participation in athletics, clubs, tutoring, and etc. Many do not have the luxury of parents picking them up when practice or tutoring is over. They live too far away to ride their bikes, and the activities bus gets them home 5+ hours after student dismissal. Additionally, it's hard to entice parents to make a 30-minute drive, at least a 30-minute drive after work or after dinner for events. Of course, we have amazing parents that do it. We have great parents, but I guarantee you that the distance is a factor in participation. You want and need parents to be active participants in our students' lives. By shipping our students farther west, you are making it harder for us to be involved. Of course, we will always be involved. As Abraham Lincoln said, commitment is what transforms a promise into reality, and we are asking you to make the dream and hope of a Bayshore K-8 school a reality in this upcoming school year by allowing this year's 5th graders to stay and moving up the project on the capital plan an additional school year. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Deborah Harlem-Bacchus. I'm a North Fort Myers resident and also the social worker for Bayshore Elementary. I wanted to speak today just to provide a social work perspective regarding the need specifically for our 5th grade class to roll into the 6th grade class here at Bayshore. I've been in social work for about 12 years now, and I started overseas to service kids, and then I've been in the education sector for the last 7 years. And every child that I have served, they have needed this specific need, the sense of community, the sense of belongingness, safety. It's paramount. It's so vital, especially to their mental, emotional, and physical health. And all of the kids that I have served, unfortunately, come from broken homes, and they don't get that at home. They don't get that sense of safety and the belongingness. However, I've never seen a school like what Ben Osmond has done for Bayshore, what he's implemented with this housing system. I believe each of you have experienced it yourselves. Each of these kids, and I'm thinking of some of the faces that I serve right now, that I stay up late, I work late for, they are getting that need met. They are feeling safe. They are being heard. They are loved. They are cared for. They're not getting that at home because they are, when they should be getting love and care for from their parents, they're experiencing adverse childhood experiences that is going to carry them for the rest of their lives unless the appropriate interventions are in place for them. And Bayshore is doing that through this housing system that Ben has implemented. So I just wanted to strongly advocate for our 5th grade kids so that they could stay with us and they could have that need continue to be fulfilled. Thank you all.
My name's Robert Daniels. I had not thought to speak on Bayshore when I came here today, but seeing this many students eager and excited about their education has been a moving experience. I didn't get to see that for a very long time. And it seems to me that we have more students here in attendance eager for a middle school than we had for the entire enrollment of the elementary school at the beach. If we could find the coffers to rebuild a school for a population that could have been serviced by 2 school buses, surely there can be room in the coffers for a middle school to service for perhaps 5 times as many students with a far greater exponential growth in that area that is far more likely than the limited square footage down by the beach school. That being said, I did want to come back from winter break and remind everyone that for most of the teachers and students in the county, they're returning to a school that is understaffed. I went on at length before about how every missing unit of teacher in the school system is a non-linear impact as you move out to the other teachers and the number of students that are affected by that. Students with IEPs, 504s, English language learners, all whom have fewer services available because you can only cut the time and the teacher so many ways to provide those services. That being said, I did a little time travel while I was on break. Spent an entire day driving up to the Georgia border and back in a big loop in a car with no stereo, just an 8-track tape, and I left the phone on the desk when I left the house. Gave me a lot of time to think without any interruptions. And with my experience over the last few years, what I kept coming back to as a major impact on student achievement comes back to the Chromebooks. Currently, they're set as a default of websites have to be blocked. Some have to be allowed, but most of them have to be blocked. They're openly available. I've seen on Lightspeed rather, students spending hundreds of hours in a semester watching YouTube videos rather than doing their work. If we could simply throw the switch to where every website a student can visit has to be whitelisted rather than open by default, where every YouTube video has to be whitelisted, we will remove 90% of the distraction they have available at their fingertips, and we may start to begin to retrieve their attention and improve their achievement simply by limiting that sort of thing. It would be a dirt cheap, very easy adjustment to make that may pay dividends beyond even what I think. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for your comments and your bravery for coming up and speaking. Mr. Chairman, that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Attorney Debris Bruno, and thank you everyone for your comments. I'm going to ask Dr. Bernier and Attorney DePree Bruno if they wish to follow up with any comments in regards to the public comment at this moment.
I would. I'd like to thank, I'm going to begin with Robert. Thank you. Happy 2024 to you. Glad to know that you're still coming back to give us some things to think about. I will get with Dwayne Alton and our IT team and take a look at whitelisting and look at what the parameters are surrounding that and what, and I know you say no impact, but what the cost impact may be, may not be, because there's always cost impact if you're dealing with employees' time, because you, like all of our employees, are really valuable. So thank you for continuing to give us additional items to consider and continue our planning. To the Bayshore community, I feel like I know all of you because you live in my inbox, and you live in my inbox times 7, because every time they have an email, they forward it to me. I will tell you, I'm not going to name a name, but the individual who responded to me last night who said, "I can't believe such a busy man would take the time to respond." Why wouldn't I respond? We're talking about children, we're talking about an environment by which children are educated, and Bayshore has been asking since I think the moment I was a candidate for me to consider Bayshore being a K-8 system. We were in the process of dialoguing with your amazing principal and your staff about it. I got sorted into the Purple House Pardon, right? And I'm just making sure. I lost my purple bracelet, so I'm going to have to ask Ben for one of those. But you've been heard, and what I'm just going to ask you to do is hang tight with us through the board meeting tonight. Listen to what the board is thinking about doing. We did have a very rich work session today, and I appreciate the fact that we have gotten to that level of dialogue up here on the dais. It is a credit, especially to the gentleman who said they deserve what they get. They do deserve what they get. They work very hard. And what you see publicly at a meeting like this is just a portion of the effort and the work that they put into this process. So being prepared for the workshop and the briefing today, talking things through, even talking about things that we knew wouldn't be popular, but we wanted to make sure we were educating everyone as to the decision we were proceeding to make. I'm looking forward to the process tonight and seeing how this turns out for Bayshore Elementary. We've done a lot of homework so the board knows. You asked me to get some things ready. You know, the briefing ended, I think by 4:30 I had the team settled, and by 5 o'clock we have some answers for you regarding some additional costs and other things. So there are cost estimates. There's no guarantee maximum price yet, but there are cost estimates that I will be willing to share with you as we look towards what the motion may be from the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Attorney DePree Bruno, do you have any comments?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Superintendent, for your comments. Thank you for everyone coming out tonight, including the Bayshore community. We really appreciate you. I want to highlight special thanks to, and if I forget a name, my apologies, Emerson, Dylan, Matthew, and Bryn Lee. Thank you to the amazing students that had the courage to come up here and speak. It means a lot to us, so thank you. At this moment, we are going to move on to the next item, which would be approval of action items under the consent agenda. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 business days prior to the board meeting. We're expected to review all the material, and we have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board in advance of appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business or tabled item portion of the agenda? I will start. Do we have member Juvenelli? Is she on Zoom? Is Juvenelli? I'll come back then. Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Jordan?
It depends on if you are pulling.
I am.
Okay, I have nothing.
Mr. Persons?
I have nothing.
Ms. Langford Fleming?
I have none.
Ms. Morgan?
I have none.
Do we have an answer? No, she's not. Okay. I will be pulling item L810, the 10-year capital plan. So.
And just, Mr. Chairman, just so I can make sure it's clear to the public, the board members, when they're going to pull an item, they will let the other board members know. There's no other communication between them. That's how Ms. Jordan was anticipating that there would be a pulled item.
Thank you, Attorney DePree Bruno. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda consent action items with the exception of item L8? Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written with the exception of L8.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay. Moved by Ms. Jordan, seconded by Ms. Langford Fleming. Please record your vote. Thank you. I got mine. Do we have the count? Good? Okay. Motion carries 6-0. Dr. Bernier, please introduce any administrators in attendance with a new assignment approved under the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I'll work from the agenda item that's posted on the administrators. I don't believe Mrs. Joyner is here, so I'm going to go ahead and announce individuals and their changes of assignment. If they would stand, we'll recognize all of you at the very end versus one at a time. Susan Joyner will be becoming the new coordinator of state reporting in the budget office. Amanda Canada has a change of assignment. She'll be joining River Hall Elementary from Dean to the Dean of Student Discipline to Assistant Principal. If
Listen to direction.
Tom Mullins will be moving from Pine Island Elementary to Edgewood Academy as principal. You could hold our applause till the very end. Dwayne Blasina will be moving from G. Weaver Hips Elementary as assistant principal to Orangewood Elementary as principal. Robert Dodig will be moving to the superintendent's office as the coordinator in the superintendent's office. Michael Galbraith, professional development from principal on assignment to the new principal of Pine Island Elementary. Those are our appointments this evening. Could we please give this group a big round of applause? To those we just talked to and that we announced, congratulations on your new positions. I will tell you that this is one area where it really boils down to a single word. This is a commitment on behalf of the board and this superintendent and a measure of our trust in all of you. The trust, and when you think about the students who spoke to us tonight, the trust that we have given now to you to help lead the future for our children, whether they be at a particular school site as an assistant principal or principal, or whether they be in the central office to help do the work that makes the job of being a principal, an educator, paraprofessional, and bus driver easier. That work is incredibly important. And we hope that you will take that trust, utilize it in the best manner possible to ensure that all of our children and each student reaches his or her highest potential. So thank you.
I want to echo Dr. Bernier's sentiments. Thank you, congratulations as well. I hope you take your time to enjoy with your family tonight. Not too much fun, because you got to work in the morning tomorrow, but thank you. If you want, you're excused. You don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
But you might want it.
Oh, you might want it, no. Okay, moving on to item N. I'll wait until we clear out a little. Just give us one moment. Now? I'm going to ask for a brief recess. We'll return in a few minutes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, at this time, at 6:53, we're reopening this meeting. My apologies for the brief recess. So at this moment, we're going to move on to item N, which would be unfinished business or tabled items. In this instance, we do have a tabled item. We have pulled one item to address. That would be L8, the capital plan. I pulled that item, and as I'd mentioned to the board before, I thought it was important for an item this big in this capital plan, that it's important for this item to really have discussion and really to make sure that we have the proper discussion out in public. We've done it before, but I want to make sure, especially with the crowd we have here, I thought, you know, it's very important, transparency in local government, so I thought this was vital to do that. So at this point, I'm going to ask Dr. Bernier, please read your recommendation for the pulled item.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public, the recommended action is for approval of the 10-year capital plan 2024 through 2033 and the associated budget, with the understanding that adjustments may be necessary due to mitigating factors such as demographic changes and financial considerations. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all related documents.
Thank you, Dr. Bernier. Is there a motion regarding Dr. Bernier's recommendation? Mr. Persons.
Yes, I have two motions. First is to address the fifth graders who will be matriculating into sixth grade at Bayshore Elementary School.
Do we not have to?
No, we're good.
And the second is to address an amendment to the capital plan.
Okay. At this time, given this departure from the original recommendation of the 10-year capital plan, we'll open the floor to public comment under the same guidelines previously provided by Ms. Dupree Bruno for each motion. Mr. Persons, please state your first motion.
For my first motion, I move to allow Bayshore Elementary School to offer sixth grade for matriculating fifth graders beginning in the 2024-2025 school year and subsequent grades culminating with the eighth grade. The student enrollment plan will be amended to reflect this change.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved by Mr. Persons, seconded by Ms. Langford Fleming. At this point, is there any discussion among us? I do want to jump to Dr. Bernier real quick on this one first, if he could provide the overview we previously discussed. Or do we want to do that in the next motion?
Well, I can provide the overview specifically to this motion. The capital plan would come under the next motion. But this motion specifically moves Bayshore's matriculation process, which is the arrival of fifth graders moving to sixth grade, with the amendment to the student enrollment plan. That would allow that matriculation to begin this spring for next fall. So the fifth graders currently enrolled in Bayshore would be eligible to go to Bayshore next year in a middle school setting. They would continue into seventh grade, and then they would culminate in their eighth grade year. So Bayshore would not move, for instance, to a K-9. It would stop at the eighth grade. So that's the motion on the floor currently.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Bernier. Now, rest of board, any comments, questions, statements in regard to this motion? Ms. Jordan.
Well, I just want to say that within the time that we ended our briefing, and with, I'm going to say 30 minutes, 47% of Bayshore, because that was a question that was brought up about how many parents or participants were in support of the fifth graders going in the K-8, and it was 47% right before this meeting started. So it was like a whole 30 minutes, and it went out on Facebook, and 47% was of parents from Bayshore were in support of the K-8. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I know earlier there was a comment about that, how many were really in support, not necessarily the people that you see in the grocery store or the people that we have on email, but 47% were showing their support. It's probably way up there now, but I just wanted to share that. And then again, we had much conversations today regarding this, and I just want to say that I am absolutely in favor of that. And thank you, Mr. Pearsons, for bringing that up.
May I ask a real quick clarifying question, Ms. Jordan? Just, and as I said, I think this is, I will be in support of this, but just the data, are you talking about Facebook on that? Can you just clarify where the data is coming from?
Yes, so prior to the meeting, I was speaking to one of the parents, actually, and the two children that we did omit from that was Brian and Bristol were the other two fifth graders. I just wanted to give them a shout out as well. But Emerson and Willow's mother, who also brought me 2 little notes that they wrote regarding the support of the school, she put that out there on Facebook for parents to see how much support would we have based on listening to our conversation earlier, and just in that time frame, 51% now have put in on that.
Okay, to clarify, that's not district data. I just want to make sure it's not district or governmental data. I just want to be clear to our audience.
It is
okay,
not.
so it's unofficial poll results.
It was participation by the families and the community of Bayshore.
I just want to clarify that for the record.
You're correct.
Dr. Bernier?
Mr. Chair, at the following the briefing today, I instructed our Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Jennifer Cupid McCoy, to get in touch with Ben Principal Osman first thing tomorrow, to run a very quick, very one-question survey for official totals. We can have those quickly. I suspect we'll have them before the end of the week. I do appreciate the Facebook, but we want to pull the official totals. We want to actually send parent link directly to the parents of the 5th graders. And, it'll be a very simple question. Do you plan to enroll your child in 6th grade if the option exists? Or the question may be slightly different depending on the board action tonight. It might say, are you planning to enroll your child based upon the board action last evening? So continue to allow us to work through our processes. But I did make that request, and the Deputy Superintendent will work with the school to make sure we have those results.
Thank you, Dr. Bernier. Next up, Board Member Patrica.
Thank you. So I want to address public comment first by saying, and I hope you don't mind, Ms. Locke, me picking on you a little bit. Ms. Locke is an example, in my opinion, of outstanding leadership in training, so to speak, as an AP at my son's school, South Fort Myers High School. Not only does she do a fabulous job advocating in her work every day for the students at that school, but clearly she's an excellent advocate for her own children and her own community. So I really thank you for taking the time to be here, because you got to be up early tomorrow and you got to deal with some knuckleheads tomorrow, my son included. So thank you for that. The kids that came here tonight, obviously we've got a great reading program at Bayshore because these kids were outstanding. When kids can come up in front of a panel like this and speak the way you did, it's just, to me, it's amazing, and it's why we do what we do, to be able to see our kids achieving. So I really appreciate everyone who came out tonight. My concern in voting on this tonight is we received the motions after the meeting started. We didn't receive 24 hours notice on the original motion. You all have been in board training with me. You know that when rules are broken, my head pops off. My head is popping off right now. I'm not clear on what the rush is. I understand that we need to approve a capital plan tonight. What I was able to hear in bits and pieces from the car this afternoon was that we were going to approve the capital plan as written and then have the superintendent bring back thorough data in 2 weeks to entertain these motions. I would feel so much more comfortable to be in a position to have that data in front of me, to allow me to digest it, get out to Bayshore, visit the school, talk to the teachers, talk to the families, talk to the kids. I would feel so much more comfortable if we could do that, table this, approve the capital plan with a 2027 finish, and then come back in 2 weeks based on the data the superintendent provides. That's where I'm at. I don't want to vote no, but given the way this has occurred, I don't know how I can wrap my mind around this change. I mean, literally, when I woke up this morning, there was no issue. The first email came, I think, at around 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm not saying there's no issue in terms of the feedback that we've gotten from the community. I've read your emails. I've appreciated everything that you've brought to me. But this is a really quick turnaround on a project that is how much money? Please, through the chair,
The estimated cost of the project prior to any type of amendment or change is approximately $50 million.
$50 million decision is being made in, what is it, 7 hours? I'm just not comfortable the position that we're being placed in as a board. Those are my comments for now. Thank you.
Mr. Persons, followed by Ms. Morgan.
Yeah. If we approve the capital plan tonight, as you say, the 50 million is in it. So that's been in there for a long time. Okay, the only thing we're doing tonight is approving starting, and the motion is to start a year early, letting the fifth graders move up. And then there'll be a second motion concerning.
I understand.
But I don't want to get into that one right now. So.
Ms. Morgan.
And so that's why I'm confused. I don't understand why we haven't gone ahead and just voted on the capital plan. That was my understanding of where we were this afternoon, that we were going to vote on the capital plan. So we're going to vote, you're asking us to vote on moving the fifth graders before we even vote on the plan? That I don't understand. Now, I will also say that as things stand right now, I also cannot support the motion that I think is on the table. I was going to ask that it be postponed until the 23rd because I think a lot of questions were raised this afternoon. We have a responsibility to the entire community, not just to the Bayshore community, to look at this and ascertain whether or not we can make a commitment of this magnitude to Bayshore, and I'm not sure that we have the information that we were asking for this afternoon to allow us to do that. I believed that we were moving forward with the 10-year plan and then doing a workshop or briefing on the 23rd to make clear exactly what the plan would be moving forward so we in the community would know what the plan is. So, as I said, I'm not sure why we're doing what we're doing in the order we're doing it, but as it stands, I will not be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Ms. Langford Fleming.
Can I clarify for the public that our next meeting is on January 23rd? And student enrollment, open enrollment begins January 26th. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I was under the impression...
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
I was under the impression that this is somewhat of an exception to our normal policy and way we do things because of the timeline given with the next time we meet in 2 weeks, we could be getting the information and the data that's been requested by the superintendent, but then in 3 days, we're going to ask staff to turn around and change. I don't know what undertaking that is to try to change open enrollment in 3 days for middle school, but it seems like that would be a heavy lift in 36 hours. So, I just wanted to comment on that. I think that's the reason why we're so expediting this to tonight, basically.
Ms. Patrica.
If I may, through the chair, ask the superintendent, is that something that staff would be able to do? Is that something staff can be preparing to do between now and the 26th? And what about your recommendation for 2027 has changed between 3 o'clock this afternoon and 6 o'clock this evening? If anything, please and thank you.
My recommendation is currently in the 10-year capital plan as it exists. Specifically, I was asked to gather additional information regarding the Bayshore Elementary, the addition of construction plan, which I was able to work with our facilities team post-briefing. I am prepared to provide additional information on what a particular plan that was purported today to be a potential pathway forward. I know staff can work ahead of time related to making a change specifically for one school in a proximity plan and making that work. So I have the recommendation on the table. I read my recommendation into the record. It is now this board's decision as to how we proceed and move forward.
Not every vote has to be 6-0 or 7-0, but I would ask that you please give at least 2 of your colleagues the time that we need to wrap our mind around this and to get the information that we need. Let's approve the capital plan and make your motion in 2 weeks. Give me some time to, I'm not saying I'm going to vote no in 2 weeks. I'm not saying I'm going to vote yes in 2 weeks. The superintendent has made a recommendation based on the expertise of staff. I have had less than a day to wrap my mind around changes. So I'm just asking you to please remove your motion. I'll make a motion to approve the plan as is. Come back in 2 weeks. That's my request. Please and thank you.
Mr. Persons.
The plan of making Bayshore K-8 is and has been included in this capital plan. Okay, the timeline is changing 1 year. So we're not discussing whether we should or shouldn't. You know, if the recommendation of staff is to make Bayshore a K-8, the difference is when the timeline as far as when it's going to be built in my second motion stays the same. So the difference is there will be some relocatables for 1 year. And that's the only change, or the fifth graders this year go 30 miles away or 20, depending where they live, forever. They never get to go to Bayshore. They can't come back because it'll be fifth, sixth grade the following year, the following year, the following year. So it's not like they can come back in a year. They're gone. So all those kids that talk to the students that talk today will never be able to go back to Bayshore if we don't move this year.
2 weeks.
Well, that gives 3 days. It's just, the plan's been there. I'm going to go ahead and still make my motion. I think the information's out there. It's going to be a K-8. We've sort of all have been aware of that. It's not a surprise. And, you know, if it was not listed anywhere, or we were changing the 50 million to move all that up a whole nother year, but we're not doing that. I mean, it's as presented, it's just the only difference. So I still am staying by the first motion.
Ms. Morgan.
So,
Ms. Morgan.
I'm still lost. Why have we not voted on the motion to adopt the superintendent's recommendation for the 10-year plan?
We have to amend it.
We're not amending it. We're
not in this motion. There's 2 motions, I said. That's the second motion.
We have to amend. No. Okay.
May I jump in for a moment? There are 2 motions on the table. It was my understanding this afternoon that we would, at least from the briefing, I understood it, that there would be an amended motion coming up and 2 motions in this way. So that was, I'm just saying that was my interpretation of it. So
That is not what I heard this afternoon. I heard this afternoon that we were moving forward on the plan and that there would be continued work done by staff and the superintendent to lay out the plan for accomplishing what everybody would like to accomplish, which is to move this up for the 5th graders to move to 6th grade. But that was all I heard with respect to, well, that was separate, independent of the 10-year plan. It was a separate, not an action item, but but basically this is the way we'll proceed. So this is getting more difficult for me.
it was my understanding that we gave guidance to move forward towards an amended Bayshore 2026 within that capital plan. That's what I interpreted it as. So.
We interpret it differently.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before I go ahead, Ms.
I think that what Ms. Morgan, I heard what you just said, Ms. Morgan, so I believe that is what we were speaking on, was making sure that within the 10-year plan, but also adding that 5th grade going in this year, the upcoming year, versus waiting. So that way in 2026, if they were not completed by 2027, then that's when the portables would come into play, is what I believe that the whole, well, at least that's my notes that I had taken on that. That then we would go to the portables and the cost for that 2027, if they could not complete it. But it was always with the 5th graders going in next year and not having to wait and go out and then come back.
That was my understanding, again, amending to 2026, and that's why I asked the superintendent about the contingencies going forward with that. So, Ms. Morgan, please proceed.
Now I've forgotten my thought. I have no issue with the 5th graders moving up. I have no issue with that at all, but I want to see the plan. I want to see what the impact is. I want to know what the board today is committing the board a year from now and 2 years from now and 3 years from now to. So I would like to see these treated as 2 separate items approved by the board. One is the 10-year plan, and the other is, if you want to make it, an amendment to the 10-year plan, but I want to see the plan that is embedded in that amendment. I don't think I can make it any clearer than that. So that, I'm sorry, I will make no more comments. Thank you.
Thank you. That was, as I said, we differed on our understanding coming in that briefing, and my apologies. I'm going to ask real quick, Dr. Bernier, moving forward, if we do with this motion, do we have a plan going forward that, based on that, that would be able to address these issues in regards to making sure that if it was not completed, for example, in 2026, and it was, you know, there for some kind of delay, that we'd be able to properly place these students?
What, I will answer the question with some latitude if permissible.
Yes.
We cannot build Bayshore as a K-8 by 2026, in the fall of 2026. It will take 34 months. We can have it approximately ready, but it will not be ready for the 7th graders to matriculate into a building at the time that is, if we move the end date to 2026. As I shared in the briefing, in construction projects, miracles are not something you want to plan on. You need a solid plan. So following the briefing today, I met with our construction team, and it's going to take approximately 34 months. We believe we could have it ready before fall of 27, but fall of 27, which is what this says, is when the building, the additional classroom space, the additional space necessary for electives, the gymnasium, construction has been very clear. Please do not separate the project into separate projects. It will drive the overall cost up. The RFQ would take approximately 4 months. The board approval, based upon our schedule, takes about a month for us to get it to a board meeting and briefed. Planning and design and permitting is expected to take at least 12 months. We have ILAs we have to pull apart with county government. We know that we have some of the help and support here from this team to do that type of work regarding some of the play fields which we'll need. We'll then need to do the bid, the guaranteed maximum price, and come back to you for approval. And then finally, it takes about 14 months to do the type of construction that we're thinking about doing. What you asked me to consider, I thought, leaving the briefing today, was if 5th graders went this year, this coming school year. Sorry, I have a cheat sheet. If the 6th graders were to come to allowed to stay and matriculate within the building in 24-25, that would create a 25-26 year where 6th and 7th graders would be present. And it wouldn't be until 26-27 that the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders would all be there. In the first 2 years, 24-25 and 25-26, we believe that we have the programmatic space for those students to matriculate. Our concern, and what I expressed today at the board briefing was, I don't know, and now I can confirm with the 34-month construction time, we will not have a brand new Bayshore in the fall, August of 26. So you asked me, and I gave you some preliminary numbers regarding portables. That means in the summer of 26, so the 7th graders are finishing their year, they're getting ready to come to 8th grade, that summer of 26, we would have to put in portables to house 150 students. At a rough estimate, because again, this was done post-briefing prior to the board meeting, that would be 7 portables, 6 particular for classrooms, 1 bathroom. That 7 is the number I used this afternoon. There are about $50,000 in civil utilities per portable. There's $10,000 in delivery per portable, and there is a $1,630 rent per portable. Total setup for 7 portables, it's $60,000 per portable, would be $420 grand. I alluded it this afternoon that I didn't have the setup costs. I'll get to the numbers you'll recognize in a minute. I didn't have the setup costs. That's the best estimate of setup if the switch gear, which is the electrical gear at the campus, can support 7 additional portables. If that switch gear has to be upgraded, like recently we had to do at Bonita Springs, there's additional dollars that could cost additional $100,000 to $200,000. The annual rent for those portables, so once we have them, if we had to keep them for the 26-27 school year till the building was finished, would be about $136,920. So if you add together the 420 and the 136,920, and we don't have an upgrade in terms of the electrical, we're looking at about 156. We'll round up $560,000 in total cost for the portables to operate, get them in place, get them wired, and get them done. If we had to add $250,000 to the top of that for electrical work, then that's what we'd have to add. What I'm comfortable saying is we have a $50 million project on the table. I don't have a guaranteed maximum price, but I would revise that estimate that we wouldn't exceed over an additional $1 million to do the work, to start the work on Bayshore. And if we got to 26, the summer 26, not if, we will need to install portables. It's not an if, we'll need to, because the construction team will not be done with the school building. Potentially it could be done that fall, and we could move into the whole building in January, kind of like what we did with Fort Myers Beach, but I want that whole 26, 27 year just in case. There's still backlogs on materials, there's a number of different things. So those are the numbers you asked me to bring the table on the numbers. With that type of scenario, you could approve the matriculation of the 5th graders to 6th grade if we're willing to approve that type of scenario into the capital plan, and that's how we'll build Bayshore. That the 2027 date will not change, but it will require us to install portables the summer of 26 in order for the 7th graders to matriculate to 8th grade and to have a K-8 somewhere in the 26-27 window where we have a school building for the kids to go to school in. That's what I was able to come up with in the short amount of time between the briefing and where we are. I don't know if that helps, but it's what I have at this point and what I was asked to bring to the table.
And then let's say we wait 2 weeks on this, would you be able to formulate, would there be a significant change you believe in the plan or the numbers moving forward, given that time?
I don't believe there would be, if you mean...
Between now and 2 weeks.
Let me clarify, when you mean numbers, do you mean the costs?
Yes.
I think we could get closer to the costs. We could send somebody out tomorrow to look at the switch gear at the school and make the determination of whether we'd have to invest in additional expense to get the power run out to a portable field. Yeah, we could pull some additional numbers. Do I think it would cost more than $1 million? I'm overestimating what I think it would cost. I think if you look at the numbers that are on my sheet of paper, it would range somewhere between $560,000 to about $750,000, $800,000. I'm being Scott Rickenbacker. I'm putting in an extra cushion for you to put instead of a $50 million price tag on the building, a $51 million price tag on the building, because we still have to go through the bidding process and get to a guaranteed maximum price. So there is still a plan coming about this school. The question is, when does this board, how does the board want to proceed related to the building of this school? And if that type of plan is acceptable, then what do we want to decide, or if we want to decide about the 5th graders going to 6th grade?
Okay, final follow-up on that. Would 2 weeks change anything in regards to any of the matriculation plan, you believe?
I expressed my concerns about the planning of a school building and this type of movement during the briefing. There's a reason why I and staff recommended 2027. I understand the community's point of view. I understand where my board is. I work at the pleasure of the board.
Ms. Patrica.
Do we have an estimate on savings for busing?
No, ma'am, we do not.
And has the principal put together any kind of a plan for how to hire the number of teachers needed for 6th grade, or where those students will be, or what it would look like at the beginning of the 24-25 school year?
I do not have access to any of those plans at this time. I believe that a principal would be waiting for approval, and then he would go to work.
And that's, like I said, that's my concern. We're looking at a minimum $500,000 expenditure with 5 hours notice. And I've not even talked to the principal, can we just have some time here, please?
I do want to clarify my comment. I think the principal has been talking and working on a K-8 idea for a number of years. Conceptually, does he have in his mind where everybody go and where everybody fits? Yes, he does. I have not seen a published action plan of steps of what he would do in the process. It may exist. I don't have that in front of me, and I could not secure it before this meeting.
Mr. Persons.
We're talking about a 2% increase, and the kids would be able to go a year earlier. That's what it comes down to in the capital plan. It goes from 50 million to 51 million. And I fully support that. I mean, there'll be, and that's if the worst case scenario, new switch, no savings on busing and everything else like that. I believe it's going to be less than that. Could end up being a 1%, like a 500,000 with the savings and everything. I just think because, one, I think now's the time to do it because we're in proximity. It just seems crazy to not do it now, if at all possible. And I think waiting 2 weeks won't change anything. And I mean, we have the figures, and I'll speak for the superintendent. He sort of said, I have talked to the principal, and he is definitely behind it, as are everybody else, and they have their contingency plans there. So I'm not worried. I mean, we, again, like I said in the meeting, we do middle schools in this district. It's not like we don't know you got to have an English class, you got to have a science class, you got to have a math. I mean, we know exactly what courses they need to have. So I just think it's a very doable thing, and I just think for that area we should go ahead and do it. We have a K-8 in Alva, and we have a K-8 in North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, and this is sort of in the middle of the two because they're rural areas and it just fits in very well.
Okay. Next up, Ms. Langford Fleming.
So I just want to say, I'm torn a little bit. I completely understand where Ms. Patrick is coming from, especially since we just heard those numbers. And I think it's really important, meaning cost numbers, I think it's really important that the families hear those. So thank you for bringing that to the public's eye, because transparency is incredibly important. And I think that the parents and families need to ask themselves, now that they've heard pretty, I would say, accurate, close to accurate data that the superintendent's had time to pull. I have young children, so I'm trying to put myself in how I would deal with this as a parent. And while I came from a community myself, a lot like Bayshore, I really understand everybody's comments this afternoon. Really hit home, especially the littles. But I think you need to also ask yourselves too, if your child is going in from a fifth grader into sixth grade in the 2024-25 year, the following year they're going to move into probably portables at some point, either before Christmas or after, okay? They're going to probably remain in those portables their 8th grade year, according to the timeline that...
At that time, Ms. Fleming, I want to make sure that we're clear. The 6th graders that would matriculate in 24-25 could be held in the capacity at the school. As those 6th graders become 7th graders, the capacity of the school building will still support a 6th and 7th grade group. The portables come when the 7th graders move in 26-27, when they move to becoming 8th graders.
Okay, and even with that being said, I'm a huge sports fan, former coach, and love the arts, and I think it's something important for you all to consider as well. Are you okay with not having a gymnasium, possibly your entire middle school? I don't know. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm just throwing these out there at you. You possibly would not have a theater or a band room yet until you were in 8th grade, and these are just some sacrifices that come along with it. With that being said, you have an incredibly special community, and so while yes, the best thing for you and your families is to go to school and be a part of the community where you live, which I highly agree with. It's just something I thought I should put out there that had kind of trickled through my mind, because you want to have, your children want to have that entire school experience, all about the curriculars, all the way into the classroom. So it's just something I want to put out there. I'm not saying, listen, I want this to work for all of you. I highly support schools and neighborhoods and communities like yours. So I just wanted to put that out there. And thank you for the information, Ms. Patrica. I completely understand where you're coming from. I don't know that 2 weeks I would change my mind, but I do appreciate and respect your request and where that's coming from. That's all I have.
Thank you. At this moment, why don't we go and go to public comment, and then if there's anything else, we can rediscuss after public comment, if that's all right with the board. Attorney Dupree Bruno, could you please address public comment on this motion?
It's going to be the same rules that we had before, and you can just line up in the back of the room, and you will come down one person at a time, and if it's less than 20 people, then it will be 3 minutes per person.
Are they speaking on the motion?
The only thing that you will be speaking on is the motion that is currently pending, and I'll just read the motion. The motion is to allow, excuse me, to allow Bayshore Elementary School to offer 6th grade for matriculating 5th graders beginning in the 2024-2025 school year and subsequent grades culminating with the 8th grade. The student enrollment plan will be amended to reflect this change.
And just as a reminder, we have a second motion that will potentially deal with the capital plan, and there would be public comment on that. Whenever you're ready, please proceed.
Hi, Morgan Mills. I couldn't shake my head hard enough that we understand the sacrifices that we will make in keeping our children at Bayshore. Living in a rural community, we already make sacrifices to travel outside of our community for extracurricular activities, and the bulk of the children that are at the school are engaged in sports and theater and music and gymnastics and dance, and we don't have those things in North Fort Myers, so we're already traveling. We just don't want to have to travel twice. We would like to keep them there for school. We have full faith and confidence in Mr. Osman and his staff that they have a plan. We've heard it. We've talked to him for years, for as long as we've been at this school. We have all of the faith in the world that this plan is going to come together. We just need your yes tonight so that we can keep our 5th graders. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? Please proceed up to the podium.
Hello again. I just a couple things. I'm in awe of like the conversation of, I'm just hearing about this. Like, I literally have lived in North Fort Myers my entire life, and this has been a conversation for years. And I understand that maybe the conversation tonight or the board meeting that you had earlier didn't interpret the same way, but I heard it too. And I clearly heard that you guys were going to come and talk and discuss, you know, Mr. Person's motion. I think it's shameful. There has been generations of kids who have lost the ability to go to school in their community. Generations. Like, it's horrible to have to live out of your car. And my oldest is a third grader. Whatever you decide tonight does not personally affect me, but it does personally affect some of the families here and some of the families who haven't come. And it's just time. It's time to say, you guys did it for Fort Myers Beach, and like, how many kids are there? Like 1%? You and all both know the gas money that you're gonna save. Transportation, bus drivers, bus aides, whatever, that you're going to save not having to transport kids, because they are all parent pickup. I take my grandkids to school, I pick them up. I'm amazed that there's no bus lines. It's the parent pickup line. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, because I do know that you guys are giving it careful consideration, but it's time. These fifth graders here tonight, they deserve to go to school in their community. The parents deserve not to have to drive them 35 miles plus in the traffic is ridiculous. Come on, they deserve it.
Ma'am, can you please just state your name, please?
I can. Tammy Rucker.
Thank you.
My name's Grant Victor. I appreciate, because I'm on a board that serves the public as well, and I have to make careful financial decisions for the best interests of the public, so I can respect where you're coming from, Ms. Patrica and Ms. Morgan. But I think the answer is pretty clear. You know, I think it's been laid out very well by the superintendent as to what the risks and rewards are to this scenario. Seems like very little risk in a situation where we are in dire need of classrooms, where we're, you know, our communities are being pulled apart in so many different ways. Part of the speech I didn't get to cover earlier was that out of all the things that are, you know, inconsistent in life, and all the variables that we deal with that are no longer reliable like they were in the past, Bayshore is one of those places that's always reliable. And for, I don't know how many years now, I mean, my daughter's 17, she started there in kindergarten, so for all those years, it's been consistent and reliable. And I appreciate what you said, Ms. Fleming, about the extracurriculars, but you know, I went to Alva School. Extracurricular was outside of school Little League. You know, we may have ran track or something like that. It didn't make me any less of a sportsman when I got to high school. I appreciate the sentiment, and I know where it's coming from, because you want us to think about what we're giving up. But I would give up all of those extracurriculars for the opportunity to keep my fifth and my fourth grader at Bayshore School. And I think the reality is that fiscal year is still the same. We're still ending up in the same place. We can move the cards around all you want, but we're not going to have a school built until fiscal year 26, 27, 27, 28. So we are running the risk of one class, the 8th grade class, with some safety nets in there. We're running the risk of just one of those classes not getting to go into a building. They'll be in portables, one class from that school. So the transition, it's barely, you know, it's right there. It's almost overlapping. So while I appreciate you looking out for the bottom dollar of the taxpayer and the community, I think you're well informed. I followed this to some extent, you know, over time. But what I heard tonight, if I was in one of your seats, I feel like I have all the cards in front of me and I know what needs to be decided. So thank you for your consideration, and I hope you make the right decision tonight.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, let me apologize. I realize there's a rule about not interacting with speakers. He was looking at me, asked me a question, and it was my response. My apologies.
You're forgiven, sir.
Hello, my name is Kevin Brown, lifelong North Fort Myers resident. I think this is my 16th consecutive year at Bayshore. On my last child in 5th grade, I know this has been a topic at Bayshore for at least half of my tenure there, 8 years. with Ben Osmond, good friend. I know he's been battling. He definitely has a plan. You've heard tonight of all the great things that Bayshore has accomplished for its students, for its teachers, its faculty, the community. I just want to say, I think we've heard so many positives at the beginning. Now we just spent the last 20 minutes focused on one side of the column, the con side of the column of cost, not even the net cost. We were only talking about gross cost. Mr. Persons brought up the busing costs. There's a good chunk of busing 100 plus, 200 plus students 20, 30 miles away, 50 miles round trip. There's obviously going to be other costs involved. So that $500,000 number, that's not the number. I don't know what it is, but it's a lot less than that, the net cost. And I know you can't put a price on it, but we talked about if we don't do it now, we have 100, 150 students that won't have the opportunity to be a part of Bayshore. What does that cost? A lot more than 500 grand, in my opinion, having a fifth grader. So we just talked about some cons, but the pros far outweigh that little piece of cons we just talked about. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Paige Bowling. I teach 4th grade reading at Bayshore Elementary, and I didn't plan to speak, but I kind of want to put a few things out there. You touched on how there's not the space for extracurricular activities. We already have a run club, so that's our track or cross-country program. Mr. Lefko has done a great job spearheading that. I will tell you personally, I would open up my classroom for any of these 5th graders who would want to do any kind of extracurricular activity. I'm also a big sports fanatic, so any kind of sport, you'll get me there. I will coach a team, I will support kids, I will do any of those things, and I think several other staff members at our school will do the same. I'm not going to speak on the math or the numbers portion because, like I said, I'm a reading teacher. I'm not trusted to do numbers. But the passion that our families have, the passion that our teachers have, everybody on our staff is immense and incredible. There was also a comment made about, do we have the teachers applying to do these jobs? There are teachers banging down the doors to get into our school to teach. We have people who are applying left and right to become a part of our family. And I don't think that we would have any issue staffing those positions. Anybody who comes into our school will be welcomed into our family, and we want to keep these kids as a part of our family. Personally, I have a special place at Bayshore, and I am speaking also as a parent of a kindergartner who's coming in next year, and I would really, really love to see him grow up in this special community. Thank you.
Can you please state your name?
Paige Bowling.
Thank you, and please don't forget to state your name when you approach the microphone.
Hello, my name is Lauren Cook. I did not expect to speak tonight, but I do have a son in kindergarten right now and a daughter that will be attending next year. But when the topic of the portables came up, my husband and I do own a mobile home business, so I wanted to press on maybe some suggestions based off of my background knowledge in what we pay. So I know you said you have to have 7 portables, $50K in utilities, which I cannot suggest anything different. I know for delivery, we are spending $7,000 to $8,000 per mobile home that comes in, and they're coming from New Orleans. We are purchasing FEMA trailers, which are structure built through the government, and they are not costing $60,000. They are ranging in between 2017 to 2023 models. They are single wide. I don't know what your stipulations are and what you have to have for the kids, but they do have bathrooms in them. They also have 2x6 walls, double pane windows, ADA compliant. They're already equipped with fire suppression systems, and I think that you do have some other options if you're allowed. Like I said, I don't know the stipulations on what you have to have for the kids, but they can be gutted, and we do have a lot of helpful parents in our area that own construction businesses that I don't think would have a problem helping out. So, like I said, just a suggestion, and thanks for listening.
Are there anybody else would like to speak and make a comment on this motion?
My name is Matt Mills. I'm Morgan's husband. Watching her go through this process has been stressful on everybody. It's been stressful on you guys. It's been stressful on our family. It's been stressful on everybody out here. I'm not as eloquent as her or anybody else that's getting up here. I'm a little rough around the edges. So with that being said, I'm a police officer in the community. I work for Cape Coral. My wife and I are both police officers. We travel every single day to Cape. We moved out of Cape. We moved out of Cape to come to Bayshore. We toured North Fort Myers. It was a great school. We found a fit at Bayshore when we moved out there. We met Mr. Osman, and immediately you walk into Bayshore and it's a home. You said that in the next 2 weeks I'll get out there and talk to him. Why haven't you done it now? Why haven't we been out there prior? You know it's been on the board. It's been very easy to go out there and talk to him. Ben is the most open person that you want. You call him on his cell phone, you can text him right now, he will open his doors to you and show you the entire school. I don't know why it hadn't been done. I don't know why it needs to be done within the next 2 weeks. It should have already been done. Should have already been done. That being said, I work within all the schools in Cape Coral. I work as an SRO right now, so I'm in all 32-ish schools in Cape. I've talked to almost every single principal through 20 different schools as in the past 4 months. Every single one of them has nothing but good things to say about Bayshore. I wish I was in the Bayshore community. That's where I'd send my kids, not even to their own school. They would quit their job to go to Bayshore. That's how good our community is. That's how good our school is. You're worried about something that you already have all the data. The data's been there, the data's been given. We've all watched, parents have watched y'all chew on this over and over and over. You have the data, it's there. Osman is ready to push forward with this. We have the room. The room is there. We have the ability to house 6th and 7th graders now if we needed to. We're only asking for the 5th to go to 6th, where there's room there already. All we have to do is hire the teachers. But the good thing about it is K through 6 can teach, all right? A kindergarten teacher can teach 6th grade. We already have teachers that are willing to move, that are willing to go up. There's countless numbers of teachers that want to come into our community. Right now, there's not the ability. There will be as soon as we have the 6th grade. Just put it on. That's it. You have everybody here. Name the last school that you had this many parents, this many students here to talk about moving forward. You haven't, right? We're the first. So let us continue on. Let these children continue on. Like you said, it takes a lot of bravery for all these kids to get up, speak better than I'm speaking right now. Just let them go. Let them go on and stay in their community and not have to travel. We travel all the time. Let's just be done with it and move forward. Thank you.
Ma'am, you've already gotten your 3 minutes, sorry. You can, no ma'am, sorry, I apologize. Ma'am, please, thank you. Please approach the next person for public comment.
Hello, I'm Ariel Yetter. I wasn't planning on speaking, so I apologize if this is a wee bit scatterbrained, but I did want to touch base on the extracurriculars. Thank you for bringing that to my attention because I hadn't really considered that aspect. However, North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts is an art school. They're known for all of their band and music and all of that jazz. So if somebody in our community really wanted that for their child, they can go there. It's in our zone. We do track now, as was mentioned earlier, and we're a rural area. We have farms, most of us. If kids want to go outside, we have no problem kicking them out there to do it, and we can do some team activities, working on the yard and things that need to be done around the house. We do, all of us, go to sports all over town for our kids. We've been traveling to do that for ages. There's not a lot offered in the North Fort Myers community. As far as your concern with, how much are you going to save on the buses and everything, I've been pushing for this to happen since my son was going to Bayshore in kindergarten in 2015. He's now in 8th grade. His bus has shown up multiple times past 7 p.m. I believe middle schoolers get out around 4. It's quite a long time for your buses to be out, pulling overtime for your drivers and everything else. I have to assume the savings is there. Aside from that, you're allowing quicker turn times on these buses, plus the alleviation. If we are a K through 8, I have to presume that we're not going to be sending these kids to school from 9 to 4 like middle schoolers. We're going to be sending them K through 8 like North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts. You've now just freed up those buses to tote those kids who do want to go to North Fort Myers Academy of the Arts, Calusa, or Diplomat. Freed it up for them. We're going to be able to turn those buses around a lot faster and alleviate a lot of your concern with your cost there. We're all here in the middle of a tornado warning to beg you guys to vote on this tonight. We need it. I now have a I have a first grader in Bayshore again, and this truly needs to happen. We don't want to see our 5th graders go. We don't want to see them end up, like my son did, at another school, very unhappy with the outcome. We just truly, truly urge you to please consider this in everything. Thank you.
That concludes public comment. I have a comment, but I want to ask my fellow board members if they have anything else they want to address before we go to vote. No? Ms. Morgan.
I'm probably going to end up supporting this, but I want to take this opportunity to express my concern about the way this board is deliberating. I'm a process person. I have been for a long time. I know when you rush to judgment, when heart takes place overhead, mistakes can be made. I don't see any issue with delaying this for 2 weeks to establish a high-quality way of work and decision-making. But having made that comment to you all, I can see the inevitable and I will support it. Thank you.
Ms. Patrica.
Yeah, so I'm kind of stuck where you are, but I can't support it because the process wasn't correct, and I do fear that mistakes will be made. You're right. Shame on me for not being out to Bayshore earlier. As I look at my email, the first email I received regarding Bayshore was on 12/13. That was the first time I, as a member of a 7-person board, realized that this was an issue in Bayshore. I don't live in North Fort Myers. I live in Estero. This is not an issue that's been advocated for to me by the community, nor have I heard this issue raised at the board table before. So I'm sorry that I need time to process, but I do. I need time to process, and that's what I'm asking you for. I'm asking for the 2 weeks that I need so that when somebody in my community says to me, why did you spend $500,000 at Bayshore? I can say, we saved $250,000 on busing, but I don't have that information to share with my community right now. I don't know those answers, which is why I can't vote to support it like I might be able to in a couple of weeks. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Ms. Jordan.
Well, I would just like to thank everybody again for coming up and speaking, and this conversation has been going on for years. So this is not the first time that this has been brought up to the board. And that is not my district, but I have been there to that school to see, and I'm the red, just in case you need to know that. But, so I have been out there, but I think that our word of the day or the month is commitment. And I think that that's what they're looking for, is a commitment from us. And I know that earlier when they were talking about, let's maybe pull this, not pull it, that was a big concern. So right now, I just think that we need to make a commitment that we understand and see them. They're here. And they have been here. The conversation has been going on for years. Maybe not physically, like you couldn't see them all, but the conversation has been there. And I know I have been a part of that conversation, not being, it's Armour's, Mr. Parsons' district, but I've been very much a part of that whole conversation. So I just feel that we have, and they have spoken about it for many, many years, and that's through multiple superintendents. And I apologize if you all were not privy of all of that, or you felt that you don't recall that, but it has gone through, starting with Dr. Atkins on up. Dr. Savage, everybody. Every chance I had to speak about it, I've tried to speak about it.
Thank you. I have just quick comments, and then we got to get a move on. So, I appreciate my board members. I appreciate their analysis. Ms. Morgan and Ms. Patrica, I think you know the respect I have for both of you. We often have very similar styles in how we respond to stuff and think of stuff. So, but I call back to looking. I'm comfortable with what I've heard from the rest of the board. I'm comfortable with what I heard from the superintendent. It's not an emotional decision for me. So just like Fort Myers Beach was not an emotional decision for me. So looking at it, and I'm going to give some faith as well into my fellow board members as you guys listen to me with Pine Island community, with Trafalgar. So you guys know your communities. I think that's very important. This is something I've been hearing about. But I'm reminded myself when I look up in here, I have to look outside of emotion. What is the best interest for the students? In this case, for me, that would be supporting it, and I'm satisfied with not seeing anything additional that would happen in the next 2 weeks. So I just wanted to say that. So unless there's anything else, let's move to a roll call vote then. Okay. Ms. Patrica?
No, thank you.
Ms. Jordan?
Aye.
Mr. Persons?
Aye.
Mrs. Langford Fleming?
Aye.
Ms. Morgan?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Carries 5-1. Right? Count it. So motion carries 5-1. Mr. Persons, please introduce your second motion.
I move to approve the capital plan with the understanding that Bayshore Elementary School will accommodate the 7th graders who are matriculating into 8th grade beginning in the 26-27 school year with portables, or some called relocatables, as required.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion at this point? Is there anything Dr. Bernier would like to add? You don't, I'm just asking.
I just want to make sure that the board's aware that with this motion, the capital plan would be approved. We could begin, and I thank you for that tonight. We need to get moving on the 25 and 26 sites, or we're in danger of the whole plan falling potentially behind to the point where those dates could be missed. All of these are estimate costs related to the 10-year plan. We've been focusing mainly tonight, based upon the presentation earlier this afternoon, on the capital new construction projects, but keep in mind contained within this are facilities as well as modernization projects such as the replacement of HVAC systems and other things. This is a pretty hefty lift for our school district, and I know right now we're focused on one particular school based upon the shift in the motion, but this motion, this change to my original motion will approve the entire capital plan, and Bayshore Elementary's construction plan, as it states, upon approval of this, would be for the facility to be available in the fall of 2027. I want to make sure that we're aware that that's when the new facility construction, based upon this plan, we still have bidding, we still have guaranteed maximum price, we still have a lot of other issues to go. But this particular motion would insert portables between the 25-26 and then the 26-27 school year in order to accomplish the final build of that building. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Ms. Morgan, followed by, I believe, Ms. Langford Fleming. No, just Ms. Morgan, sorry.
So, again, I think that we should be approving the plan. I don't think there should be a rider about 7th graders matriculating and the need for portables. I don't think we should prescribe what will take place within the plan. I think we should simply approve the capital plan. We've already approved the first motion. We don't need the second motion apart from the approval of the plan. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Ms. Jordan, and then I think Ms. Langford Fleming.
I would just say I would have to concur with Ms. Morgan on that one, because if whatever we are approving the plan, and of course we have to make sure we know what happens at that 2027. So I don't think that we really need to have that in there because of the fact that those kids are there. They're going to be moving up. They're going to be moving up. So we will be taking care of that.
Ms. Langford Fleming, then Ms. Patrica, right?
So while I appreciate the motion and do support the idea of it, I think within the capital plan, with us saying we approve it so that the super and his staff can get started, we already talked about this afternoon how the capital plan is a living and breathing document. So going in and having to make adjustments between now and then, there may, even with it all being explained and laid out this afternoon, there may have to be adjustments on timelines of portables when they do get in, when they don't get in. I'm not certain that we have to approve that if it's already built into the capital plan. I just need clarification on that.
Ms. Patrica?
Yeah, I just feel like it's a distinction without a difference. We're approving the capital plan. According to what Dr. Bernier just said, we're approving the capital plan with an opening date in 2027. This just explicitly provides funding for portables, but those are needed anyways based on the first motion. So to me, what Dr. Bernier read as a recommendation at the beginning of this conversation is essentially the same. The words are just different.
Mr. Persons?
The capital plan is I'm a business person, that's your budget. I mean, I could have said, I would like to amend the capital plan to be, for Bayshore to be 51 million instead of 50. I mean, something along those lines, but we need to have that money in the capital plan because who knows who will be in charge in 3 years. And they say, well, I'm sorry, we don't have any money for portables for Bayshore. I mean, it needs to be an understanding, you know, I don't think that would happen, but I think it's just more prudent to have it in there. And that's part of it. I mean, the capital plan on all of these have different, like we're remodeling Riverdale, you know, and there's a thing there, but that's part of the capital plan. What is the money for? I mean, it's not broken down 100%, but the money's there for everything that's been bid out and you know, type we're doing. So I think one way or the other, we either need to go put 51 million in there somehow. And I don't know the best way to do that other than say, because of the portables. And it may, I'm saying it's the high bid is what you always go by. Chair, through you to Dr. Bernier. Do you have a different way of...
Mr. Persons, I would share with you that, and we rarely talk about this, each one of these projects in a capital plan has to devise its own plan. Those plans come back to you for approval. By making your motion to permit the 5th graders to matriculate beginning this coming fall, we are now obligated to do something during the summer of 26 to address the fact that 7th graders are going to need a place to go to school in 8th grade because I've told the community it's going to take 34 months potentially to build the building. So we allow us to now utilize an approved capital plan when you approve it to go out, start the process of doing the bids, getting a guaranteed maximum price, bringing it back to the board. The board will still have to approve the overall construction costs, and you'll have an idea of the scope, and you'll see that portables are included. So it's just, you asked, so I answered, sir.
Mr. Persons?
If seeing no difference from everybody's viewpoint, I have no problem with just taking that part out and just making the motion to approve the capital plan.
Mr. Persons, then would you be willing to withdraw your motion, and then the only difference would be make sure that, as discussed, the difference between the capital plan would be moving Bayshore to 2026 on that capital plan versus the 2027?
It stays the same.
Okay. Okay.
That was my sort of.
Okay.
I like everything being real clear, but.
Okay.
You should have seen his face.
No, I know, I think we need to be clear.
Yes.
The date for Bayshore does not change.
Yes.
The Bayshore completed project will occur in 2027. It may occur in January of 2027. It could occur in August of 2027. But the goal was that the building would be ready for the 27 school year. It might be ready sooner. That was a great question that came from the board regarding, you may go into your 8th grade year and you can see it, but you can't move into it yet. Right? And the community says that they understand that. So what will change is how we deal with the 7th graders moving to 8th grade the summer of 26.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
So I would like to withdraw my motion. It'll need a
Second.
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 Okay. And I would like to make a motion to approve the capital plan as presented to us.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Jordan, motion brought forward by Mr. Persons and seconded by Ms. Jordan. Do we have any additional discussion up here? Okay, at that point, then let's move to public input. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address a specific motion on the floor in regards to the capital plan during public input at this moment?
Two things, Mr. Chairman. One, it's my understanding that Ms. Giovanelli has actually joined us.
Oh, okay.
And then the second thing, since this is the original recommendation, we don't need public comment because it's really just a vote on the recommendation.
Okay. Ms. Giovanelli, do you have any discussion at the moment in regards to the capital?
I was watching the meeting as I was able to log on, and I'm very supportive, so thank you.
Okay. Anything else at this moment? Anything else we might have missed? We're good?
Now we just vote.
Okay, this is going to be a roll call vote, starting with Ms. Giovanelli.
Yes.
Ms. Patrica.
Yes, please.
Ms. Jordan.
Aye.
Mr. Persons.
Yes.
Ms. Langford Fleming.
Aye.
Ms. Morgan.
Aye.
And I am an aye, so motion carries 7-0. Thank you, everyone. At this point, we're going to move on to item Q, public hearings. Dr. Bernier, please present your recommendation for this evening's public hearing item.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public, based upon your work earlier this evening, I present the following recommendation for the public hearing item. Item Q1, approval to adopt the 2024-2025 student enrollment plan as amended by a motion this evening relating to Bayshore Elementary School in compliance with the changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes, and to adopt best practices to promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be January 10, 2024.
Thank you, Dr. Bernier. We'll now recess the school board meeting and open the public hearing. The time is 8:06 p.m. As indicated, the public hearing this evening is to consider Dr. Bernier's recommendation as previously stated. At this time, the public will be invited to speak on this one item. The time allowed for public comment is 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the board regarding the approval to adopt the 24-25 student enrollment plan as amended in compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability? Seeing none, no public comment. At this point, I will now close the public hearing and reconvene the school board meeting of January 9, 2024. The time is 8:07 p.m. Dr. Bernier, please restate your recommendation for this evening's public hearing item.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public, item Q1 is the approval to adopt the 2024-2025 student enrollment plan as amended by a motion this evening related to Bayshore Elementary School in compliance with the changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and promote transparency and accountability. The effective date of this adoption shall be January 10, 2024.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board Approve to adopt the 2024-2025 student enrollment plan as amended by the motion this evening relating to Bayshore Elementary School in compliance with, is that still correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I just want to make sure on that. In compliance with changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes to adopt best practices and to promote transparency and accountability. Board members, is there a motion to approve said plan? Ms. Langford.
I approve to adopt the 24-25 student enrollment plan in compliance with the changes in related rules, regulations, and statutes.
Do we have a second? Ms. Jordan. So moved by Ms. Langford Fleming, seconded by Ms. Jordan. Is there any discussion? Good? Okay, at this moment, if there's seeing no discussion, let's move forward and please record your vote.
My computer went down.
Oh, Ms. Juvenelli, can you please, how do you vote?
I mean, yes, I was going to say it did not come up populate for me, so thank you.
Thank you, sorry about that. Motion then carries 7-0. Thank you, everyone. At this moment, we're going to move on to good of the order and board comments. So we'll start with Ms. Juvenelli.
Well, I actually just got the end of the meeting, and I apologize because I'm out of town. But I just want to say that I love the discussion that I got to, that I was able to hear, and I really truly appreciate this board and doing what's best for kids. And I'm excited for Bayshore Elementary going to be a K-8. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. Juvenelli. Ms. Patrica?
Yeah, I just have two quick things. First is a report to you guys about QAC, Curriculum Advisory. Meeting was canceled in December for lack of a quorum. I do believe the chair is going to raise the issue of hybrid meetings, which this board approved, thankfully, so that we can get, participation up and get the work of that committee done. And the second thing is flag football. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know that there's some excitement, I don't think above, for everybody at every high school, but I know that there's significant excitement at many of the high schools about that starting in Lee County this year. And I'm going to be going to a lot of the games, and I'm hoping that you will be going as well. I'm hearing that at least one high school is expecting 75 to 85 girls trying out for flag football. They're going to do a diamonds in the rough tryout. Do you know what that means? They're going to have everybody run, everybody throw, everybody catch, everybody kick, just to see what diamonds are in the rough, so that they can sort of assign positions, because this is the first year that the program is in place here in Lee County. So go flag football. I'm going to be spending more time on the football field. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Patrica. Ms. Jordan?
Thank you. I gave my comments earlier today, but I just wanted to thank again Bayshore community for being out here, and congratulations.
Mr. Persons?
Looking forward to being able to go to Publix, to the bank, to church. No, congratulations to Bayshore. It's a great school. I have a grandson going there now, in full transparency, and my daughter and son also went there. So I'm well aware of the history of the school. And it's just one of those things that I think needed to be done just like the big school. So very proud of y'all.
Ms. Langford Fleming?
Yeah, I completely support this decision regarding Bayshore. You all are a very unique community. You should be very proud of yourselves. But most definitely should the children that came and spoke be incredibly proud, and you parents should be proud of them and their educators, because I heard a lot of transitional phrases in some of those conversations. Incredible articulation, so kudos to your educators, and I look forward to my visit to Bayshore. Happy New Year to our staff. Thank you for all you do. I look forward to a wonderful and successful second semester here at Lee County School District. Thank you.
Ms. Morgan?
And I also made my comments this afternoon, and I will say thank you to Bayshore community, all the parents. I don't believe we had any emails from children, but we had a lot of emails from parents. I want to thank you for communicating with us. I mean, it was important, and we weren't able to respond to every single one of you that did, but please know that every email was read. Thank you for coming tonight. I am glad that we have found a way, through conversation at this table, to bring this issue to what I think is a great conclusion for children. So thank you for your participation. I respect you and I admire you, and especially your children. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank, obviously, the Bayshore community that came out tonight. We truly, just as my board member said, appreciate your communication, your feedback. I want to thank our staff and administration for their hard work on this. I really do appreciate it. I know there was a lot of things that went into it, so I appreciate that. And I just want to continue to thank this board. It was a very tough discussion tonight, but it was very positive, very productive. So even so we have our differences, I truly want to thank this board for that. So, and I've talked enough for tonight, so I'll leave it now on to Attorney Dupree Bruno and then Dr. Bernier for comment.
I have no comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Unfortunately, I'm going to keep you up for just a moment. It'd be remiss not to now completely announce the importance of middle school families logging into the portal on January 26th and making their middle school processes and choices. I think it's incredibly important. I want to wish everybody in the community and here, this is the first really opportunity we've had to address, both in the boardroom and publicly, a very happy new year. Welcome to 2024. I hope it brings us the same level of success in our school district as the most recent school grades did. This was my first opportunity really to pitch what transpired for our school district, which was 14 schools raising their grade, some raising their grade to a school grade of A, some moving from C's to B as in boy, some from D's to C's. And for those of you who aren't aware, we had 3 schools that when I got here were under BSI, which is a state oversight program based upon their school performance. All 3 of those schools lifted their school grade from a D to a C, which gets them out from under state oversight. Interestingly enough, the entire state of Florida, every school district will be represented in our Caloosahatchee room on February 21st. That meeting was scheduled by the Department of Education because of the work of academic services and the other individuals and the principals and their teams who led that school improvement work. It is incredible that not only were they going to help utilize the school district of Lee County to help educate other districts as to how to do this work, but now we have the additional sort of feather in our cap to say not only do we know it was working, but now we know that it works. So congratulations to the academic services team, the principals of those school buildings, of Manatee, of G. River Hips, of Fort Myers Middle. Just absolute incredible work of those principals and those teams, and so very proud of them. I'm happy also to report, because I've been keeping you up with buses, all our buses are back in the compound. All students were delivered successfully. Only one brand new bus driver got lost, and he had to be found by his supervisor and guided back to the compound, but that was after he delivered his students to their homes. Keeping in mind, it's been an interesting weather day, but the legislative session has begun. I know that you're very excited about the continued information from our Chief Communication and Government Relations Officer, Angel Gomez. He'll keep us up to date as things begin to move even further. I made a note and I can't read it, so I'll move on to just remind everybody that this coming Monday you were being listened to. So thank you for that opportunity, and thank you to the team today, because I think it's just really important to mention, and my computer wants to act up. It's not just, and I'm sorry Bayshore, I'm just going to take a moment of personal privilege and say it's not just about Bayshore tonight. Bonita Springs, sitting in a 1924 building, really needs this, and their remodel has now been approved to begin in earnest to move forward. Hector Caffaretta, which was a total loss in Hurricane Ian, is now on this capital plan as the #2 slot. Cypress Lake Middle, which has been waiting for over 60 years for a rebuild of their school building, will begin that rebuild as Franklin Park exits their portables and we move those portables over to Cypress to allow them. And then we have 2 new middle and high schools that'll go in the east and west communities to help with the growth that we were hearing about today, and then it lands at Bayshore, and then it gets beyond 2027, so I'll stop there. But thank you, because this will allow the team to begin in earnest to start moving forward and coming back to you with the project plans and the guaranteed maximum prices, which will get our number of seats up for the burgeoning population of Lee County. So thank you for your leadership this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Bernier. On Tuesday, January 23rd, there will be a school board workshop at 12 p.m., a school board briefing at 2:30 p.m., followed by a school board action meeting at 6 o'clock. At this point, having no other business to come before this body and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 8:19. Have a good evening, and please drive safe.